Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 21 of the Don't Stifle Me podcast on this Tuesday, July 25th, 2017. If you are a new listener, I'm glad you stopped by. Welcome. If you've been here before, then welcome back. My name is Jacob Stiefel. I'm a singer-songwriter originally from Fort Payne, Alabama, but now living here in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, through my years in the music business and world, I've been lucky enough to meet all kinds of interesting people. So I decided to sit down with them and start recording conversations, discussing how they got where they are, things they've learned along the way, things they might have wished they would have learned, and anything else that comes up in conversation. So that's what this is. Now, if you want to check out my music, I do have some CDs on iTunes and Amazon, Google Play, and all that. And there's merchandise and tour dates at jacobstifle.com. The podcast social medias are at DSM Podcast if you want to follow those, and mine are all at Jacob Stiefel. All right, now let's get to today's episode.
Pick it up the piano.
It ain't dying I'm talking about, it's living.
Well, I'm back in Nashville, and I just got back from a 3.5-week solo acoustic tour out to Texas, and it was a great trip on so many levels. I got to see family, played some great shows, and also got to sit down with a few good friends and record some podcast talks to share with you right here. And this episode is one of those talks. Today's guest is my very good friend, Mr. Chad Prather, and you can call him a comedian, motivational speaker, internet sensation, or just the goofy guy in the cowboy hat who records videos of himself sitting in the cab of his truck. Any of those really kind of work. I've known Chad for a couple of years, and he really is just a great dude. We had an awesome talk. So without any further ado, here is my conversation with the one and only Chad Prather. What are we drinking here, by the way?
This is Glenmorangie. It's a debate. Some people call it Glenmorangie.
Yeah.
But people that I trust call it Glenmorangie. But yet every time I order it, I still have a little bit of doubt. But it's a popular Scotch, and it's a single malt, and this is actually the extremely rare 18-year. I like to brag and say it's about $110 a bottle.
Very nice.
It is nice. I'm going to keep it in the middle of us in case we have to pour some more. I love this stuff, though. I don't drink a lot of Scotch. Now, I drink whiskey almost exclusively.
Yeah.
Every now and then a little red wine with dinner, we'll buy a bottle or something like that. But I don't drink beer. I don't not drink beer. Beer's not my choice.
Well, usually by the time I have like 2 beers, maybe 2.5, I'm done. I'm like, okay.
I'm loaded, man. I feel like I've eaten a loaf of bread.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like even yesterday, we did that benefit, and we were in Plano, Texas, and it was an outdoor deal, and it was very, very hot outside, and everybody, of course, they're going to the beer tubs. I had a beer. Yeah. And then after that, I started ordering Jameson whiskey on the rocks. And people say, how can you do that when it's this hot outside? I said, well, first of all, I'm not here to just consume massive amounts of liquid.
I think that's where you lose people.
That's what happens. Okay. People don't understand that concept. But you have to check yourself, because when you're out there in the heat and you're sweating and that ice starts melting and that whiskey's cold, you start drinking it as though you're thirsty. And that, my friend, is where you get in trouble.
Mm-hmm. You do have to be careful, because I'm the same way. I like to sip my whiskey on ice, and it melts a little bit and it's good. But yeah, if you start drinking your whiskey on ice like everybody else is drinking their water and beer and stuff, I
don't get stupid drunk. I mean, I feel the effects of alcohol when I'm not Superman or anything like that. But I've seen Superman 3. He got drunk in that one. The old Chris Reeves one.
Oh yeah.
Superman 3, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I've been connected with the Firestone and Robertson Distilling company here, the whiskey distillery, bourbon distillery here in Fort Worth. Yeah. For 5 going on 6 years now as their tour guide, distillery, and all of that. And at the distillery as their tour guide, and I've done a ton of stuff. They were our tour sponsor last year. They've just been really good guys. But I love their TX whiskey and their TX bourbon.
Ah, yes, I've had that.
Yeah, so that's where that comes from.
Okay.
And so I'm just a whiskey junkie. And people say, how'd you get so connected with the distillery over there? I like their whiskey so much that I just sat down and wrote them an email one day, years ago.
funny how that works.
And the next thing I know, I'm sitting in their office, and we became real good friends. And so, yeah, I'm a whiskey guy. I drink whiskey like most people do drink beer in terms of what I prefer.
Right.
And now, if I'm floating down the river in Texas and it's 110 degrees and I'm down in New Braunfels on the Guadalupe or the Colorado River, I ain't drinking whiskey.
Oh, yeah, no.
Then I'm Lone Star Light or something like that.
I tell people I like when I'm grilling out, like cooking burgers or something on the grill, or I'm watching a football game, maybe another sporting event.
Yeah.
But mostly Alabama football, you know. Right.
Roll
the only thing that matters in this.
I have to say go Dogs just to get that Roll Tide out of my mouth.
But that's really the only time I like to drink beer. Otherwise, just give me some whiskey on it.
I think this is the last month of the year that we have that doesn't have football in it, because we're in July right now. And football, end of August, it'll start.
I'm so glad you said that. It feels good.
I'm real excited about it. I would like to see another Alabama and Clemson national title game.
I played a gig in Dallas yesterday at Adair Saloon, and they had Alabama game replays like playing on the TV.
Nice.
I was so happy.
Nice.
I said the only way I had friends that came out to the show, people were dancing and listening to the words to my songs.
Yeah.
There was Alabama football on TV. I had some Jack Daniels on the rocks. And I said, the only way this could be better is if there was a naked woman standing right in front of me.
Well, you keep singing the way you do, and it doesn't take much. You'll have it. I remember when you and I met, the night we met at Magnolia Motor Lounge. You were opening for Adam Hood.
Yes,
you know how sometimes when you hear somebody and it immediately you're like, I like this guy. I like this music. I like what I'm hearing. And it was instant with you. And then when you said you were from Fort Payne, Alabama, I said, well, I got to talk to this guy. Because I lived in Fort Payne, Alabama for a number of years. And I said, that's very random that you meet anybody.
Very much. I think about that a lot, that night that I met you, because I didn't know you from Adam.
Right.
No pun intended.
We were there because we love Adam, and Adam's a friend. And so we got
just
there
started
early.
Talking, and I was standing back by the merch table. I was like, well, I'll just talk to this guy. He seems cool. And then not long after that, I see you on Facebook or whatever, blown up. I'm like, well, shit.
That's that dude.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
Like, know him.
Well, it's funny because... of course, Fort Payne, everybody knows that's where the band Alabama basically is from, and all up on the, Lookout Mountain and all that. And, I used to see those guys in Fort Payne when we lived there. You go to the Food Land.
Randy was just the guy that was at the ballpark.
Randy's right there, And, you'd see Teddy and all those guys, and it was so funny, the differences in personalities, Jeff and all those guys. And you run into them and just good down-to-earth guys, but... we won't even get into all that, but one of their old drummers back when they were what was the name of the band before they were Alabama? It was whatever country.
Young Country?
Young Country.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I think that's
right.
right.
I think that's right. And, they went through drummer after drummer after drummer.
Yeah, before Herndon,
Yeah. And so one of the guys that was at our church, he played the drums at our church. He was like, yeah, I used to be their drummer. And I was like, everybody in Northeast Alabama was their drummer. If you could play the drums, you were their drummer at one point in time. But no, that's a long time ago, Fort Payne.
So if you lived in that area, where are you from? Like
I'm
born and raised?
Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
I catch grief all the time because somebody wrote a Wikipedia page on me, and they put that I was born in New Jersey, which is true. I was born in New Jersey, but I only lived there 4 months. And so when I do things like put videos out there and people hear
somebody was giving you shit about this cowboy born in New Jersey.
Yeah, so much for that. Yeah, fake Southern accent he's got there. Yeah. I don't know about all that. But I grew up in Augusta, Georgia. I went to school, University of Georgia. Then I did some schooling over in Columbia, South Carolina. And then once I got out of college, I just kind of bounced around the Southeast a lot. So I lived in Alabama. I was in Tennessee a lot. I was in Georgia, South Carolina. And then I came out to Texas for a work trip in 2003. And what
were you doing? Like, what are some of the jobs you had throughout that time?
I was running my mouth. Starting at the age of 19, really, I started going into churches because churches would let me talk.
Yeah.
And I would preach, for lack of better terms. I would go in and I have the gift of communication. So I would go in there and I'd shuck the corn, man. I'd just let them have it. I'd have a good time. But I wanted to master, because I grew up in the woods. I grew up down in the middle of nowhere.
It was all motivational stuff.
Yeah. So, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have a neighborhood. So I was kind of one of these introverted, backwards kids that was insecure, couldn't talk to girls. I had to, I learned how to drink just so I could lose my inhibitions enough to talk to girls.
Yeah.
And so I had no confidence. And so I said, I want to change that about my life. And so I said, well, I'm going to get on stage and start talking to people. And so I started going to different churches, little churches. I mean, so I can remember these little backwoods churches. There might be 7 people in there on a Sunday morning, but I'd get up in the pulpit and I'd teach. I mean, I had something worth saying. I'd say it and kind of take them somewhere with it. I wasn't just, shouting them down. But so we do, I started doing that. And then I got in the world of motivational speaking, and that started growing. I literally was all over the world. As I developed that ability to communicate.
Did you do that yourself, like building that up?
Yeah, and what I did is I connected myself with the right people. So I've always been one of those. You and I met this way. I walked up and said, hey, this is somebody I want to know. Yeah. And I walked up and said, hey, this is who I am, this is how you, and let's know each other. How easy is that? And relationships are formed. And so
it's a simple concept, but one that a lot of people miss.
It is. Yeah. And I mean, I tell young guys all the time that they're like, well, we don't know how to meet girls. And I said, just go up there and know them. How would you go know a dude? You're not trying to get in his pants. Just go say, hey, my name is, tell me about yourself. I'll tell you about myself. And don't objectify them. Just get to know them. And who knows, maybe you might get to objectify them later that night. You don't know.
Yeah, but you definitely won't if you don't ever go say,
you guys just got to talk to them. Yeah. So I connected myself with mentors. In fact, the person I was just texting right now is my true all-time mentor. He's in Augusta, Georgia, and we were. I said I just want to follow these guys around. What are you doing? I want to go with you. Yeah. So I'd get on an airplane with them. We'd fly around the country. We'd fly around the world. We'd go to Africa, Southeast Asia. We'd go to Moscow, Russia, right after the fall of communism. So
just kind of like shadowing them and seeing what they did.
And so what they would do is they would, like funny story. We were teaching in 1994. I actually learned about the death of Nicole Brown Simpson and the O.J. Simpson, what became the trial of the century. I learned about it in a USA Today editorial piece, a little blurb that was about an inch deep, inch long, that was reporting her death. It was in an editorial page of a USA Today sitting on the tarmac in the airport in Russia, in Moscow. And I had not seen an American newspaper in 15 days because I've been over there. We were over there to teach marriage enrichment classes to couples in the former Soviet Union who, after the fall of communism...
Oh, yeah, it was right about that time. Yeah.
I wasn't married. I mean, I didn't. What did I know about marriage? I was still in college at the time. But we went over there right after the fall of communism, and we went into a porno theater. They let us have the porno theater from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. We had to be out of there by 4 in the afternoon.
So they could play there.
So they could play the pornos. And so all of these couples who they were Christian couples mostly, folks who were discovering the church because, again, under communism, they didn't have freedom of religion and they had no concept of what a marriage should be like. Yeah. And so all these people would come sit in the thing and we would teach. So anyway, I would listen to the guys that were my mentors, and I would just absorb their material, and then I'd step up and I'd teach one of their sessions using their words. Basically, their concepts, their principles. And so I did that to learn how to communicate, concepts and learn how to teach and those things. And
just the skill of talking with,
And it was the material was the same. And those folks, I was speaking through an interpreter, so they didn't know. I could have had 3 wives. Who knows? All 3 successful, married. And so... I did that. We went all over the world doing this stuff. And so I learned how to communicate through translators because so much of what I did, I spoke to 135,000 people in a soccer stadium in Abidjan, Ivory Coast one time.
So how old were you when you were doing that stuff?
20, 21.
That's crazy.
I was a kid. I was a punk, man. I was a kid. I started doing all that stuff 19, 20, 21. All of my 20s I spent on airplanes going all around the world. As soon as summer break would hit when I was in college, within a week I was on a plane going somewhere.
Yeah. Did you finish college? Did you get a degree or whatever?
Yeah, a couple of them. A couple of them, yeah. Primarily in the realm of communication. So I have a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science. Okay. And so my passion has been communicating. I got before this we did the sound check, I did the Greek alphabet.
Right.
And I used to...
Yes, I was very impressed by that. I didn't look like it because I was typing things.
In college, I took 3 years of... New Testament Greek, Koine Greek, which is a dead language. I took 3 years of it, and I actually taught on the seminary level the Greek language.
You are an interesting cat. I'm going to take 3 years of a dead language.
I know, and so I did that. I took Greek 1, 2, and 3, and so I used to sit there my first year when we memorized the alphabet, I'd do it really, really fast. And so I had a Greek professor. He said, one of these days you're going to be sitting in an old folks' home in a wheelchair, slumped over, just mumbling those to yourself.
The Greek alphabet.
And so, I've got the point of what I'm telling you is I've got a tattoo right here on the right side of my chest is NRK ein ha logos, which is John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word. And so I've had people over the years who see that and say, well, what does that mean? And I said, well, for me, words are everything.
Yeah,
it's all about words. You're a songwriter. You know how important words are. So
they convey what we're feeling.
So you take history. History is created by words, and you take the words that we've held for posterity. You take Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, the philosophers, the kings, the poets, the musicians. Their words are what we know from thousands of years ago. We've held on to that because it's all built on their words. Nowadays, fortunately and unfortunately, everybody has a voice because of social media.
It's very much fortunate and unfortunate.
Yeah, because it's fortunate in that, yes, everyone now has a platform. If it weren't for social media, I would not have the life and career that I have today.
Right.
Just point of fact, I wouldn't have it. But so many people don't take responsibility for their words. The Egyptians put their hieroglyphics on the wall. The Native Americans and the cavemen had cave drawings and Native American art that stuff's still on the walls.
Right. Today it was there and it stayed there, and they knew that it was going to be there.
Yeah. And it's there forever. It tells their story. Today we put in our words on a digital wall, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, things like that. And we tend to put memes of cats up and stuff like that. What words are we using to really change? 1,000 years from now, they look back on our walls and say, what was this culture all about?
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been about words. I saw that when I was a kid. I saw that when I was young. And to be able to take words, twist a phrase, I'm not a songwriter. I really wish I would. I come up with great ideas, and I just give them away to other people. So, because I'm not a musician, I use music. I take a guitar and I use music to entertain. You've been in one of my comedy shows, so you've seen how I'll do parody songs and stuff like that. But I'm not a musician. I'm just enough. I can 5 or 6 chords and be dangerous.
Well, I'm sure from what I know about you already, like you could, if all you did was focus on just that, you could.
I could. But that's not my drive.
Right.
That's not my passion. Yeah. And I have people all the time who say, "Man, you need to go cut a record or something like that." And I said, "No, that's not me. That's not."
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't ever, but that's not my passion. That's not the thing that gets me out of bed every morning. If I felt like at any given time that I could do something like that and that would take me further in this vehicle that drives my purpose, I might do that.
Yeah. What would you say is your passion? Like, what would you like? What is? Well, do you have a definition or whatever.
Well, I'll say this. I'll come in this from the back door. I have people all the time who ask me, how do I find my purpose? Just the other day, I had somebody who said, well, you seem to have found your purpose. How do I find mine? And I said, well, there's a couple things. First of all, I'm finding it daily. Mm-hmm. It's an ongoing thing because I might wake up next week and be totally different. But I believe that your deepest heart's desires and God's will, whatever you want to call it, your purpose for life, they're usually synonymous. The thing that drives you deep, deep in your heart, the problem is most people can't figure out a way to monetize that or to make a living doing it, build a career out of it. They don't have that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm fortunate enough that I've always been pretty good at being able to find a buck in my passions.
Yeah, that's very fortunate.
Yeah. My friend Cafe Anderson, he says, it's become a motto for me. He says, if you got talent and you're not making money, it's your own fault. And so I agree with that. There's some more elements to that qualify it a little bit. You still have to have some opportunities to use it.
Oh, yeah.
But
and there's also, there's a whole gang of people out there who don't even know what their passion or talent is. Yeah. Like they probably have it, but weren't through life. They weren't allowed or given the path to find that maybe they're really good at making tables or whatever.
No, my passion, my purpose is, well, I'll say this is my passion. I don't know that it's my purpose, but my passion is to communicate things that I think make people think and make people smile. So if I can take truth and logic and wrap it in humor and deliver it to somebody and it's an easier pill for them to swallow, I was telling you that I had a guy I had recently, and it sounds so funny. I had to have a professional biography written about me for pitching to television programs and things like that. Yeah. Because if you're going to be on The View or Bill Maher or Good Morning America, they have to have that to be able to look and say, who is this guy that we're having a conversation with? And they give them
something to talk about in your 11-minute conversation or whatever.
So I was on the phone with this guy who's a professional writer. He was out in New York with Atlantic Records, and then he's in Nashville now, and I sat on the phone with him for an hour and 15 minutes, and I thought we were having a perfectly great conversation. It was, my new friend here, he's writing about me and all this stuff. We get to the end of that thing, and he goes, I got to confess, I entered into this conversation with a lot of trepidation and almost didn't take this job. And I was like, why? And he said, well, because I've watched your videos and the things you do, and I agree with exactly 0% of the words that come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I said, well, I appreciate your honesty. He said, but I've learned that, one, I really do appreciate you.
Yeah.
He said, because now I hear who you really are because he's really listening to me now. Before, he was judging me in 1.5 to 2 minute sound bites and thinking he knew the entire character.
Well, I think one of the main reasons I wanted to do this podcasting thing, I started listening to podcasts about 3 years ago, and including podcasts, but also conversations in the van with my band members going down the road.
Right.
The most I've grown and learned about myself and life, I've done through conversations where I might or might not agree with the person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's when you question yourself, and maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, maybe you get a little mad about something, and then 2 hours later you're sitting there thinking, shit, maybe I'm wrong, or whatever, whatever it is. I feel like that's not enough people are having in-depth conversations, like long, maybe hour-long conversations.
It's a lost art.
Yeah.
Let's face it, conversation is an art. People by and large spend their life nowadays, and especially the millennial generation that's coming along, spend their days staring at an object and not another human being. So we look at computer screens. I mean, look at us. We got
3 computers.
We got 3 computers. We got 2 cell phones. So we've got all these things, these screens in front of us, and that's what we look at. Well, I don't have to use expression. I don't have to make sure I make eye contact with this machine. I can approach it however I choose to approach it. Therefore, I never have to make myself uncomfortable enough.
No, there's zero empathy involved in looking at it. Yeah.
And so now you go out into the real world and you try to have a conversation with somebody, and you have no clue how to do it because or you look disinterested, or you look pissed off, or you look like, a smart ass, or you say something off the cuff that you think is funny. It sounded right in your head, but it really came out offensive.
But you don't have that opportunity to go back and reword that like you can a tweet or a text message or something. You have to think and say it in a sentence to someone out loud.
And the unfortunate thing is now we're having children, and we as parents don't know how to have conversations with our children. And so our children aren't learning this art either. So now we have a generation of kids that have come along who have never known life without social media in it. Yeah. So they don't want to have face-to-face conversation. Now, me personally, I like to believe that if I died and you stuffed me and put me in a museum somewhere, my natural habitat would be the cocktail party. I mean, you came in and I was like, man, let's pour a drink. Yeah. And so, let's have a good time with this thing. That's what I like to do. I like to sit down with people. I like to converse. I like to have a good time, and a couple libations every now and then makes people, it loosens the lip up even more. So yeah, it's a good time. And I love people. People ask me all the time, they said, do you ever get tired of this? Dude, get this. So I did 3 shows this past week, St. Louis. I was in Oklahoma City, just outside of Oklahoma City, Harrah, Oklahoma, a little theater out there. It was an awesome place.
Comedy shows for the people.
Comedy shows. So I do a comedy show now. I do a couple of different comedy shows. I have the Friends in Safe Spaces show that I do with Steve McGrew. You saw that one. And then I do the Star Spangled Banter tour, which is me. That's my one-man show. And so I'll have an opener that'll come out and do 30, 35 minutes, but then I'll do an hour and a half. Yeah. So it's like, it's my show. I mean, it's a conservative, clean George Carlin show.
Okay.
Clean-ish. I mean, I show you the edge.
Right.
I don't shove you over it, but I show you the edge. And so anyway, we were doing this all sold out shows, and I made the mistake of going out of the building of the theater backstage, going out the backstage door and trying to walk around the alley to go around to the front, because I was going to go see fans at the merch table. Yeah. And the theater was so crowded because they were all sold out. They were all oversold, packed places. And I got hit at the end of the theater but with people who's like, oh my God, can we take a picture with you? Yes. It took me an hour and a half to move a block and then around the corner to the thing. So finally I was like, you know what? I'll never make it back in the building. I'm just going to do this outside. If you bought a t-shirt or whatever, I'll sign it out on the street, take a picture out on the street, make a line down the road. And that's what happened.
That's awesome.
So people kept asking me, do you ever get tired of this? I mean, do you ever get tired of this? No. I mean, there's an element to it that, yes, it's exhausting because, you know, how many times can you stand there like a cardboard cutout and take a selfie with somebody?
Everybody likes to be able to lay down at night and be like, peace.
Yeah.
But
I mean, sure, in one aspect, it'd be great to walk off stage but come on, man. I mean, I'm dealing with 500 people. It's not 5,000 people. I couldn't do that with 5,000 people. But 500. The 250 that hung around to do those pictures, I can do that. I'm happy to do it. Thank God for those people. It's humbling.
Yeah.
The fact that you want to take a picture with my goofy mug and me sign something, give me a break.
They said, I think Willie Nelson back in the 70s when he was, first off the cliff, or like late 60s, early 70s. They said he would stay around after the show. He'd go back out and shake every hand and sign everything that needed that people.
Well, right now I won't travel with anybody that won't do that.
Yeah.
So if you're not willing to go out there and do that at this level,
why would you? I don't understand. Why would you not do that?
I mean, I can understand if 10,000 people are in the arena.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't. So I mean, sometimes I'll do shows that'll have 1,200, 1,500 people at them, and that in and of itself sometimes is physically impossible. But why would you not? Yeah. That's because guess what? Next time you go to town, they're coming to your show.
And they'll bring a friend or two.
Exactly. Yeah. They're going to freaking come to your show. So, I look at stuff like that. I'm a people person. I was looking at YouTube a little while ago and something just popped up from a video. I got 1,800 notifications and comments just today alone. On one post on YouTube. So, it's not unusual for me to, I've started spacing out the truck videos that I do. And for those of you who are listening who don't know, sometimes for therapy, will sit in my truck. That's kind of what made me, quote unquote, famous. Yeah. Is I sit in the truck and I turn my camera phone on and I talk to it for a minute and a half, 2 minutes about just random humorous musings about life, politics.
I think the first one I saw was the pull your pants up.
Pull your pants up.
The guy,
like, freak, dude. I mean, you pull your britches up.
Yeah.
And so I just do observational humor, sometimes current events about life and things that everybody sees. And I try to, again, put a twist of humor on it. Millions of people watch it. I have like 250 videos now that have over 1 million views each. Wow. Some as high as 200 million.
Really?
Yeah. I got one video that's 200 million. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
If you look at all of the different vehicles in which it's been shared, it's 200 million.
Yeah.
And so different people have their favorite videos, or they have the first one I saw you was this, or I saw this one, this was my favorite, or they think, well, this is the only one they've ever saw. So stuff like that is crazy. Yeah. So then the notifications start coming in. That wears me out.
I bet.
Because now I'm dealing with a machine. I'm having to deal with a nameless, faceless.
And the kind of person you are, I know because I'm the same way. You want to. It's the same thing with like talking to the people after the show. Yeah. You want to. You want to respond. You want to respond. You want to acknowledge the people that took the time out of their day to.
I want social media to truly be social.
Right.
But typically we forget that. I have guys all the time who try to do what I do, become an internet sensation.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what do you prefer when I told people I was going to talk to you, I'm like, he's Chad Prather. You've probably seen him in videos that people share with the cowboy hat and is talking in his truck, and he's a comic, but he's also this and he's also that. What do you tell people you are?
I don't know.
You don't know?
It's hard because doing comedy has made it easier because I can say, well, I'm a comedian, but I'm not. I'm not a comedian. I am more of an observational humorist. But again, what the hell does that mean? I'm an entertainer. I am a storyteller. I am an armchair philosopher, which means I have no qualifications to be a philosopher, but I can sit in a rocking chair and tell you all kind of crap.
Yeah.
And so I'm all of those things, a jackleg musician. I'm, all these things. There's no way to really put it in a nutshell. And that in and of itself is why PR people over the years have looked at me and said, we don't want to touch you because we don't know how to sell you. You're like this Renaissance guy. You're like this modern day, people tell me this all the time. You're a modern day Will Rogers. Will Rogers was an actor. He was a singer. He was a musician. He was a rodeo guy. He was a trick roper. He was a philosopher. He was a humorist. He was all of these things. And he did all these things. And people look and they say, if you're, here's a guy that died in the 20s, and people don't know who that is nowadays a lot of times, but they say you're a modern day Will Rogers. And so I do all of that. I look at politics. I have a new website called politicalcowboy.com.
Yeah, I've saw
that thing's
that,
blowing up, and that's going good. I could sit here and do political blogging all day, every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
and be happy. If it just make money being a political blogger, selling ad space on a website.
Right.
I say that. The other thing that is just a true passion on the flip side of that coin is I love to be on stage. I mean, there is no bigger high than having walking out on stage and you got 1,000 people or 10 people that are going crazy
looking at you and listening to what you're saying.
Yeah. They're going nuts, and they love that stuff, and they're laughing, and they're having a good time. I don't know that I can ever pull away from being on stage. So I'm an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. I'm not. I say I'm not a comic because I don't want to disrespect those guys who truly are comics. I mean, it's an art, and it's something that these guys have been in the trenches and they've worked for years and they've paid their dues in the comedy clubs.
Totally.
I don't really do comedy clubs. You saw me in a comedy club. Yeah, it was like the third comedy club I'd ever done in my life.
What kind of places do you usually?
Mostly theaters. Theaters. So you take the rest of this year. I go to. I'm in South Florida this week, and then I go to Bozeman, Montana next week, and then, dude, I'm all over the North. It's weird. Here's this Southern boy.
Let's get this redneck up here.
I'm going to Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, Boise, Idaho, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm going to that is South Dakota, right? I'm going to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm going to New York City. I booked New York City, dude. Roll that around in your head. I'm doing a theater in New York City. I don't care if I don't sell but 3 tickets. I'm going to brag like a mofo on that because I mean, how many people can say that a theater in New York City, in Manhattan, bought their show and booked you to come in there?
Do you get any like not kickback, but like negative feedback from comics? Because you like, I'm not saying you did, but saying you like slipped in the back door through social media and you didn't pay your dues or anything
I get it on the grapevine.
Yeah,
I get it on the grapevine.
I don't get it to your face.
I don't get it directly to me because I mean, really, what are you going to say? I mean, what are you going to say? Albert Brooks is one of the most popular comedians, comic actors. He's a genius, and the guy never did comedy clubs. I mean, what are you going to say? Just because you did it that way, that was the route you took, doesn't mean that was the only route you have to take.
Yeah,
and I've had comedy club owners. I had Bobby J down at Side Splitters in Tampa. I did 2 shows in a row at Side Splitters in Tampa. That was Larry the Cable Guy, Dan Whitney's. That was his home. Dan's he's from Larry the Cable Guy's from Nebraska, but he went to high school in Florida.
Okay.
So he cut his teeth doing comedy in Tampa. That was his home club. And so he messaged me that night and he said, "Tell Bobby J," I can't do Larry the Cable Guy. He goes, "Tell Bobby J to, change the toilet paper in there because I know he's so cheap. He's still got the same light bulbs and all this stuff." And so Bobby J, we were having a drink at the bar after the show and he goes, "How long have you been doing comedy?" And I said, "Well, if you want to call it that, a year."
Right.
And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "You're doing pretty good." And I took that as a huge compliment. And he said, "In fact, you're doing good enough that we're going to have this dance again."
Yeah.
And that's kind of his phrase to say. But I was like, that's a
saying
compliment.
For sure. Because he could have just been like,
it's his club. It's his club.
Away.
He knows we sold tickets. We put butts in the seats
for
people to come in there 2 nights in a row on like a Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
And who goes to comedy clubs on a Wednesday and Thursday? But we did. We packed that sucker out. And so it was a blessing because I come in and here's what I have heard from comics. They say, at least you respect the craft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you just said a minute ago. Yeah.
You come in and you at least attempt to do comedy. Some of these internet guys, and I won't call names, but some of these guys that do what I do, they're internet sensations or whatever. And I'm not even opposed to that term. I think it's funny, but I get introduced that way all the time.
Yeah.
But they go in and it's almost hey, look at me. Here I am. I'm the guy you see online. Now we'll bring out another
just
comic,
weirdly recreate,
and I'll just that, and then you're just here to see me. So here I am. Look at me, basking in the glow of these lights, and I'll come sign something and take a picture.
Well, I could tell, like from the most of the podcasts, my favorite podcasts out there are ones that comics do. That Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, like those are my favorite that I listen to the most.
I love Maron's.
Maron, yeah. And so since listening to those, it's really awesome to me to hear the similarity between comics and the stand-up comedy world and the music business.
Yeah.
And that, like, paying your dues and not just that, but the whole craft of the routines, the bits and the intros and the going between bits and it's very similar to me, I think, hearing them talk about it, to like not just my songs, but even like banter and talk in between songs.
Exactly.
And I'm in no way saying I'm a comic, because I have some really terrible jokes that I'll tell you later. But like not even just being funny, but the talking with people and the crowd interaction and the going from one song to another and explaining where they came from. And that's all feeding off people. It's all communication. It's all the words and getting, anybody, whatever, like you can just stand up there and sing your songs, but being able to convey, the feeling behind this song and the feeling,
You're exactly right. So Cooper Wade, who is my good buddy, and he is a musician down in Houston, the Houston area. So he's out of Katy, Texas. Good songwriter and just a fun entertainer. He's a honky-tonk guy. He's just a fun entertainer. So a couple years ago, there was a place out there down in South Texas that said, "We want you to come to a music show." And I was like, "Do you know who I am?" And they were like, "Yeah, we see you do the stuff online. Sometimes you sing. Come to a music show." And I was like, "Well, So I reached out to Cooper because he was a friend, and I said, "Dude, you want to go do some music shows together? You bring your band." And basically, what I was saying is, you carry the load.
Yeah. You play the music, and I'll just be funny.
I'll be there. And, I might sing a song every now and then or something like that. Well, we went out there and we did that. Now we've done about 25 of these shows together. We got one coming up into this month in Gale, Texas. So you can GPS that and figure out where Gale, Texas is. I think it's population 280. Yeah. They got this little place there called the Coyote Store, which is this badass little old mom and pop.
What
five and
part
dime
of Texas?
It's West Texas. West Texas Panhandle. I mean, it's out there. I mean, it's basically... Lubbock area, that way out there. Yeah. It's a good ways. It's out in the middle of nowhere. So they have this great little country store out there that has live music. So we're going to go out there. We're going to pack the place out and have fun. So, but what we do is, to your point, is we start telling the stories of our life. I grew up. I spent the weekends with my grandparents because I wanted to stay there because my grandmother would take me to the library on Saturday morning while she studied her Sunday school lesson that she was going to teach on Sunday.
Nice.
And then I would rent books. I would check out books.
Yeah.
And because I still read a ton, and that's what started me on that. And I'd spend the night with her. We'd go to the Piccadilly.
Is that where you think you fell in love with words?
It's 100%, 100%. Because I spent so much time with my grandmother, and she was, she would write transcripts of her or scripts of her Sunday school lesson. She would write out word for word, and basically she'd stand at the front of the class and she would read it. That taught me, one, she was very thorough and very specific about but it also taught me how I don't ever want to communicate or teach.
Right, yeah.
So, but I did that. And so I read, and then we'd go to the mall that night. We'd eat dinner at the Piccadilly, which is the Luby's out here in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'd do that, and we'd go next door to the little record shop, and I'd buy me a little 45 record. And, so I had me a little collection of 45 records. I can still remember guys like Ricky Van Shelton and all that. I mean...
So that was the weekend.
That was the deal. And then on Saturday night, my grandfather, after Piccadilly, he'd take off to the American Legion where he could dance the night away. He'd come in about 2 o'clock in the morning, but we'd all get up the next morning and go to Sunday school, go to church, the whole thing. Yeah. That was my deal. But before my grandfather would leave to go to the Fraternal Order of Eagles or the VFW or the American Legion, we would sit and listen on AM scratchy radio. We'd listen to the Grand Ole Opry. So that's what I heard. I heard George Jones, and I heard Lefty Frizzell, and I heard Minnie Pearl, and I heard these guys, Jim Reeves, and golly, it goes
now,
on, Porter Wagner,
like
and I hear
somebody that's 60, 70 years old, but you're not that old.
No,
like,
I mean, no, but those guys were there.
That was still happening.
It was still going on.
What was this, like 70s, or late 70s, early 80s?
This was the late 70s, early 80s, and into the mid 80s, and so I would, we'd sit there and we'd listen. We'd watch Hee Haw. On TV, and so we would do that. He wouldn't.
Sounds like a good Georgia upbringing, right?
That's how we were. And so Cooper and I, we get together, we do these shows, and I will start telling those type of stories. That I cut my teeth on country music. To me, country music, I love all genres of music. I really do, including rap, including pop. I love Bruno Mars. Yeah, I love Eminem. Eminem, give it to me all day long. I love it. So, but give me that kind of thing. I enjoy the people who are the masters of their genre. Mm-hmm. Those guys who really put it out there. I love Justin Timberlake. I mean, it's feel-good music. I love all that stuff. I mean, that guy is talented and can go across genres. But I'm a country music guy. So, but I love Willie and Waylon and Conway and Merle, and I love, Loretta and Dolly and Kenny and all these, that's Rogers, not Chesney. I do love Chesney, but that ain't who we're referring to.
The golden age of
exactly.
country.
So I love all of these guys who created this thing. And to me, country music is the Monday through Friday or Saturday work week of a hard-working blue-collar person that has to keep their head above water, make sure their family's fed, and there's pull yourself up by your bootstraps, blaze your own trails, self-respect, self-discipline, respect for other people. That ethic is country music. It's the struggle.
Put into words.
And the music. Yeah. Usually an E, a B7, and an A. And,
right,
and,
1, 4, 3 chords of the truth kind of thing,
Exactly. And so it's cheating music, it's drinking music, it's dying music, and it's the struggle. It's the working man. It's not this put on your cut-off blue jeans and stand on a diamond plate tailgate in the middle of a pasture around a bonfire while you fill your little Dixie cup and the speakers go boom, boom. That's not country music. That's not. That's Friday. That's weekend night party music. Now, that's not to say I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, but it's not country music. It's a pop rap crap combo kind of thing. And so
it's what it is. It's pop / rap contemporary music for those blue collar or Monday through whatever, like for those people, and that's cool for that purpose. Yeah. But it's not like, to me, it kind of, and it's a whole nother conversation, but it takes away from the poetry and the art of it. It's no longer an art. And I live in Nashville, so I see and hear and know people. And by all means, make your money, do what you do.
Sure.
Put out what you, because if people are buying it, that means they like it and whatever. Yeah. But it's still at some point, and I don't know who's to blame or whatever, but there's art out there. And I feel like it's being devalued by being called the same thing.
It's a I'll put it this way, and this just popped in my head. It's taking the Mona Lisa and putting an Andy Warhol twist to it, throwing in some retro mod pink neon kind of thing. It's just twisting a genre. It's twisting a thing, and I'll listen to it, but just don't call it that. And I have people all the time who come to me. I love Nashville. I love the city of Nashville. I love the heritage of Nashville and the history. And I love the people in Nashville. I'm there at least once or twice a month. And I tell people all the time, because they'll come to me and they'll say, "We hate Nashville." And I said, "You don't understand. You hate a lot of what Nashville's putting out."
Yeah. I had somebody say that last night.
From the producer side of thing. I said, but trust me, most of the people in Nashville don't necessarily like that Nashville either.
Yeah, for sure.
I said, you haven't been. You got to go. So I'm trying to put together, actually, I want to put together a Texas Music Goes to Nashville trip. I want to take people. There's so many people in here who are huge Texas music fans as a genre.
Yeah.
And the red dirt, whether it's Texas, Oklahoma, whatever. And I want to put these people on a plane and take them for 4 days to Nashville and let me show you Nashville, because you will change your perspective.
I had somebody asking me a couple of days ago. They said, "So, is there?" In a roundabout way, they were asking me, "Is there other kinds of music in Nashville, or is it just like the radio country?" I was like, "No, it's Music City. It's not country music.
City.
It's not."
I can take you to Printer's Alley. I can take you to Printer's Alley and show you the best big band.
Yeah, the best
New Orleans music. I mean, I can see the best blues, jazz. I can take you. I can take you to all these places
and hear the most rock and roll set you'll ever hear in your life. Yeah. I mean, there's everything. It's music.
I love getting out on Broadway with everybody that's there for a work convention or a bridesmaids party or tourists, and I love hitting Legends Corner and then going into Tootsie's and then coming down to the stage and then Roberts. I love hitting that side of the street and doing that, and just hearing these guys who are out there working off a tip jar and playing their stuff, and you never know. I mean, sometimes you got these guys that are home. They're not on tour right now because normally they play bass for Brad Paisley,
for sure,
and now they're down there in Tootsie's just filling in,
making $100.
My buddy Vince Marino. I always text or call Vince Marino. I mean, he's with either Daryl Singletary or Craig Morgan or my buddy over in East Texas, Neil McCoy, shout out. And now he's leading his little band. Normally he's playing keys for those guys, but normally he's leading his deal with electric guitar. And Vince is a funny dude, incredibly entertaining. I go out there and do that stuff, and I can sit on a bar stool for 6 to 8 hours. It's a work day.
Yeah.
I can sit there and I can watch those bands change starting at 10:30 in the morning. And
7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m.
I'm telling you, man, I can watch them in the morning and they'll just switch them out.
And there's all kinds of stuff, too. I mean, I used to play down there all the time, and I was playing, which is one of the reasons my voice sounds like this. I was playing like Foghat and, you know, Joe Walsh and just all kinds of stuff. And I was playing rock and roll because I've had a rule for as long as I can remember that I'm not going to play songs that I don't like.
Yeah.
So I always played, people would come up and be like, I got $40 if you'll play the new Luke Bryan song or whatever. You know, whatever. And I'd
$100 for Wagon Wheel.
Sorry, I don't know it. You know? I probably made less money than a lot of people, but I still love what I do.
If my wife that I love very much, if she told me to get lost, I would move to Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
There's only one other city besides Fort Worth, Texas that I would live in, and that's Nashville, Tennessee, because I love it that much. I love what's there.
Yeah.
I love the history of it. I mean, it's a religion. It's a religion.
It's a great place. I mean, so many people have moved there in the last 4 or 5 years, mostly because of that. I mean,
well, and it is saturated in a sense. If I wouldn't move there for the business. I'm not, because I'm not trying to do anything. I would go enjoy the business of it. That night you and I didn't get to hang out after. You had to bug out, and my thing ran a little long. But that night I did Zany's there in Nashville. We went out after that night and flat got toe up.
Yeah,
we wound up at my buddy Kyle Lovett. We wound up, and a couple of his friends. We wound up down at the stage, and good God Almighty!
I spent many nights like that when I moved there in 2009, and lived in East Nashville for like 6 months. And then by that time I had started playing like 4, 5, 6 nights a week down on Broadway and 2nd Avenue. And in 2010, like January, I moved in with a friend on 2nd Avenue across the street from the bar I was playing at all the time. Yeah. And 2010 is still the blurriest year of my life. But there were many nights like that. I'd play, and then we'd go out and walk around downtown. Well,
I've got so many friends over there, and normally when I go over there, I'll stay with my friend Adley Stump. She was actually at the Zany show. Yeah. Adley was on The Voice, and she's the opener for the opener of Blake Shelton's tour, his American Kickoff tour. And I'm so proud of her. She's really killing it, and she's an entertainer. She's fun. She's a social media girl.
I've seen her on social media, but I've never met her that night. You were going to introduce us, and I had to get my friends and take them home or whatever. Yeah. So
I love her. Well, I'll stay with her some, and every now and then we'll go out. And she's an Oklahoma girl. She's a Tulsa girl, but she's been there ever since she was on The Voice. She moved to Nashville, and she's introduced me to so many people and different venue owners and things like that, like the Doghouse and winners and losers. And of course I used to go to Losers all the time. And I love that bar.
Years ago,
It's so funny though, because it's close enough to Vanderbilt, and you come in there and then you have all those folks that are, you might walk in there and run into Miranda Lambert. Right. That's like her bar. And so
I met Mel Tillis there one time.
No kidding.
Yeah. He was standing like 5 feet away from me, and I just, for a while I didn't say anything, and then at some point I felt like he was about to leave. So I just went up to him and I said, "Mr. Tillis, my dad would be mad at me if I didn't shake your hand."
That's good.
Hello.
See, that's a great approach right there. That's a great approach. I did. Well, I was over there a couple of months ago. I was over there, and Chris Young walked in. I was at Winners. It was the afternoon. Adley and I were sitting there. We were talking to Trent Wilmanson, and Trent's a friend. You call these guys friends. You know them, and. So we were having a drink with Trent, and here comes Chris Young, and he comes in with one of his buddies, and I said, Chris, I know you won't remember this. I said, but you and I have met a couple of times, because he was over here at Arlington, Texas. He was the lead singer for the house band at Cowboys Arlington, which is now a parking lot.
Okay.
Jade and I, my wife and I, we met at Cowboys Arlington.
Nice.
So but he was the head, and so I kind of knew him there, quote unquote, Right. And I've run into him from time to time, and he's like, "No, man, I don't remember." I said, "I don't blame you for forgetting." I really don't.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
You meet so many people.
Here's what's funny. I have become friends with a lot of people. For instance, I became Facebook friends today with Susan Ashton. Now, Susan Ashton was a contemporary Christian artist on par with like Amy Grant, you know.
Okay.
So she's saying she kind of went out of her career as far as you know, as a singer, and started doing backup. She toured and backed up for Garth Brooks.
Oh, okay.
So like You Move Me, that's her song. She did, you know, You Move Me before Garth Brooks did You Move Me.
Okay.
And so I didn't know it, but she tagged me in a post today, which is weird because here are these people. I grew up listening to these people. You know?
Yeah.
I was friends with, you know, I'm friends now with Gary Chapman, you know, Amy Grant's ex-husband. I hate that I clarified him that way. I described Gary as, hey, y'all ever heard of Gary? That's her ex-husband.
Yeah.
But Gary's an incredible singer-songwriter. You know, he was the host of Nashville Now way back in the day on the TNN, the Nashville network. And so he was many years. He was the host of Nashville Now. And so he and I became great friends. And then so she tagged me and him in a post that she did today, something political, because they always throw me in there. And so she and I became friends on Facebook. Yeah, exactly. So we became Facebook friends. You know, a couple of months ago, my wife sent me a message and she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going through Twitter to see how many famous people are following me. And she said, how many are there? And I said, I don't know. I'm still counting. And she goes, well, like who? And I said, okay, so there's Eli Young Band. There's, which I can remember seeing those guys in Fort Worth when there were 17 people in the room listening to them. Oh, yeah. And I said, Eli Young Band. I said, there's Luke Bryan. There's Phil Vassar and Jesus. And she goes, I don't think Jesus is following you. And I said, well, I don't think this Jesus pronounces it that way.
Yeah.
He's a Jesus.
Yeah.
But no, I met Phil Vassar. Phil Vassar and I got connected. That's a talented dude, man. That's an odd duck. He's a strange cat, but he's a talented dude.
Like when did you get the oh shit, this is taking off kind of moment? Like when did, or even back to forward before that, what made you think I'm going to start recording myself talking and put it online?
Well, okay. So here's what happened.
Conscious thought of that, or
no? So here's what happened. Here's what happened. My buddy Trey Chapman and I. Trey is an 8th generation Texan here in Fort Worth, and he's a social media guy. He's horrible at it, and I don't mind him hearing that. He's just terrible at it. But I got to give him credit because he inspired me to.
It's an uncomfortable skill to work at.
It really is. So I used to tell my wife. I told her for a long time. I said there is a way to make a living off of social media. They won't pay you.
Yeah,
Facebook won't pay you. I said, but there's a way. And
when do you think you had that thought?
I didn't know how. I just knew that it was there. And so my face was always in the phone. You know, those of you listening, I'm sitting there staring at the phone. My wife used to say, you always got your face in that damn phone. Nowadays, she's like, you need a charger for the phone?
Right. Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
So,
because bills due next month.
Nothing has changed on all of that. But I was watching Trey. You know, Trey is one of these guys. He's a Fort Worth socialite guy. And so I don't even know if you can say that about men, but I was watching him and I said, he's got a knack for it. He's a social media whore. So I got to know him. We became friends, and he and I used to go back and forth on social media. I'd post a video making fun of him. He'd post a video. So people kept saying, man, you guys need to have a reality show. Well, I was at the gym one day. I was not in the gym. I was at the gym. Huge difference. And I called my wife on the phone and I said, babe, I got to make a living just being myself. And she said, what's the street value on your personality? And I said, it's worthless. and I said, but I have this idea and I'm going to start really posting videos out there. And I think it'll open up the door for me to go back into the world of motivational speaking.
Yeah. What were you doing at that time?
I was in the corporate world because, again, after I had gone through a divorce years ago, and I just kind of said, you know what, screw all this. I'm gonna go get a job.
So you were doing.
So I was doing sales. I was selling stuff. I was selling industrial distribution supplies. I was working for a Fortune 300.
Because you had done. So we've kind of jumped around. You had done motivational stuff, and then at some point you got married to your first wife.
I was married to my first wife. Very young. I met her in Africa. In Nigeria. Yeah, I went all the way to Nigeria to meet a white girl from Alabama. So we got married. We did know each other, and we had 4 incredible kids together. That we did right.
4 kids. Yeah, you seem very good at that.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was a lot of practice. So we did that, and had 4 great kids, but we were oil and water. We were nitro meat glycerin. I mean, I was driving a gasoline truck through her dynamite plant, and it just was not going to work. So we hung on to that thing as long as we could, but we wound up divorcing, and through all of that, I just kind of burned out. I was just done. And I was such a public figure at that point in time that I said, I want to go hide from the world. So I climbed into that proverbial cave and just hid. I don't want to know my old friends. I don't want to know my old acquaintances, none of that. And so I wound up, I got to a point where it was almost like, to me, it was like God said, dude, I didn't create you to hide.
Yeah.
You got, it's time to come on out, you know? And so I started using Facebook as a sociological experiment. What made people laugh? What made people mad, offended them? What stirred the pot? All these things. So I just put anything.
Just taking note of what people reacted to.
So for years, I mean, like 5-6 years, I would just take note of what makes people, what stirs them.
Yeah.
What brings the emotions out of them. So anyway, Trey and I started going back and forth at each other with these videos. I'd sit in traffic out here on I-35, headed north into Fort Worth, going to work, and I would sit there and I'd pop that thing up, and I'd just start talking to it, and I'd say any random crap that came to my mind, and sometimes it was funny, and you know, people, again, I became kind of Fort Worth famous.
Okay.
People started watching this thing, and they were like, "Oh, dude, you guys
just going to and from your corporate job."
Yeah, just sitting in traffic. And then all of a sudden I had a few of them that just kind of blew up. I mean, like, you know, when I say blow up, I mean 10,000 people watched it.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, 10,000 people are watching this thing. And then all of a sudden 20,000 people watched it.
What year was it? What
this was like 13, 14. This was like 2013. So this is recent. I mean, this is not that far. I mean, we're talking 4 years ago. And then all of a sudden, when I had that conversation with my wife about I'm going to go make a living being myself, I stepped out into nothing. I quit my job. I had nothing. Yeah. And there was a fledgling television network here that was based out of Fort Worth here, Ride Television, the Equine Network, that called me up and said, "Hey, we don't know you, you don't know us, but you interested in doing a TV show with us?" And long story short, yes. So I did that thing. I had a production assistant who said, "You know those stupid little videos you're always putting out there?" She goes, "Why don't you put them out there for real and make some money?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "How do you do that?" She goes, "Put them on YouTube, they'll pay you." And I said, "Well, I don't think anybody's going to watch all this stuff."
Have you thanked that person? Yeah.
Oh, I love her. I love her. Bless her heart. I need to send her. I heard from her mother the other day. Actually, she lives in San Francisco now. She's in television production in San Francisco, living her dream, and just. So
you were like, "Yeah, all right, I'll try it."
Well, I did. I put a thing out there one day, and it was comparing Walmart to Target, and the crazy experiences you have of going to Walmart and just the crap that goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Walmart, you just have to go watch the video. It's a crazy thing. But 1 million people watch this thing in a day.
Wow.
When it took off, let me tell you, it's like riding a rocket, dude. Because
So
you
it
look
just
at
went.
this thing,
Like you put
and
that up,
you
and
put
it
it up, and all of a sudden, you're like, wow, man, 3 days went by and 15,000 people watched this deal. And then all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap, 15,000 people watched it in the last 60 seconds.
Wow.
And now it's like, and so it goes, now I look at all videos kind of like a plane taking off. It's the trajectory and the thrust. How fast does it take off? Is it going to stay airborne? Yeah. And so now I can put any video out there. Tomorrow I'm going to do a video called If Rednecks Had Written the Declaration of Independence. And
do you write these things like ahead of time?
No.
Or do you just kind of have an idea?
I have an idea. So I used to be totally off the cuff with them.
Yeah.
Now I come up with about 5 phrases that I don't care how I get to those phrases. I just want to make sure I get to those phrases and say them exactly the way they are, either written out or in my mind. So I ramble and then I hit the phrase, and I ramble and I hit the phrase.
I got you.
My mouth works. People who watch it say, "How do you say it that fast?" Well, I can talk really, really fast. That's one of those old communication skills that I worked on a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
So my thing, I put my brain on cruise control, and my brain works about 8 seconds in front of my mouth. So my brains are thinking about what I'm going to say 8 seconds from now.
That's awesome.
My mouth is just kicking it. And so when I'm in that mode, I just turn it loose, pull the string, boom, I'm gone. Yeah. So my most popular videos were the ones, and that's why people who say, "We love you because you're genuine." You say exactly what you're thinking. We want to say what you're saying, but we can't. And I was like, "Why can't you?" No. Yeah. Then I started realizing they got a boss, they got a corporate job, they got something that could have some repercussions if they,
Well, it's like before we started this conversation. For people out there, usually when I record with somebody, I start off. One of the things I say is that you can talk. As far as I'm concerned, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You can cuss. You can say whatever you want. No, nothing is off limits as far as I'm concerned. But I ask if the other person has anything they don't want to talk about or whatever, and you were just like, "No, whatever."
I'm an open book. I'm a transparent person in that I have people who look at me over the years and they're like, "Dude, this guy's an asshole." I have people who say that to me all the time now, but I have people who have known me historically, and they're like, dude, I'm like, no, I'm just confident. I know who I am. And that's not an arrogant trait. That's just being comfortable in your own skin. I had a guy who sent me a message the other day. He said, I saw your show on Thursday night, and I want you to know that I'm rebuking you, and I'm encouraging you to make sure that you remain God's man, and you are, God has raised you up, and there's a platform for you, and God wants to God. And I was like, look, I love God like you do, but I have my relationship with God. I have my walk with God. I have my faith. I have the steps that I take to make sure that relationship stays intact and where I need it to be.
Right.
Don't ask me to walk out your relationship with God.
Yeah.
Totally different deal.
Yeah.
So I've learned a long time ago to be very comfortable in my own skin. I am who I'm created to be. I'm here to make my sound on the planet. I'm an instrument that is tuned like it's no other instrument is made like me. Same as you, same as anybody listening.
For sure.
You are an instrument that was created to make a sound that no other instrument can make.
Such an important thing for people to hear and realize and think about, because, I mean, I'll be honest, I really haven't started feeling that way until about the last year and a half.
Yeah. How old are you?
2 years. 29.
You're 29. See, I'm 44. It took me 40 years to grow up because I was trying to be. So I told you earlier in the conversation, I told you that I was traveling with these guys all over the world, and I would get up and I would regurgitate the things that they were saying. I finally realized I've spent most of my adult life being an echo and not a voice.
Yeah.
I was saying the things that my mentors and the people that, it wasn't that I was saying it wrong or what I was saying was wrong. These are great people, great words of wisdom. But I was so bent on saying it their way, saying their words their way, that I wasn't finding my own voice. So now,
like you said, that's how you learned.
Yeah.
Was just kind of regurgitating what they said, and that helped you figure out how to talk and how to present things.
Yeah.
But
now I sit back and I go, okay, how do you say it? Mm-hmm. How do you say it? How you say it the way you want to say it? Communicate it your way.
That was one of the things I wanted to ask you, was that once, and I don't know what came first, but when things kind of took off, you were like, oh shit, like I have a platform now. Like I am this person that people are going to come to and listen to what I'm saying. Did you have to sit down and be like, okay, what are my stances on things? Like, what are, like, because I mean, you have definite opinions
of that, but it's a minor degree. It's a small deal. So this sounds weird. It sounds arrogant, but I knew basically because of how much I rose in the world of speaking in my early adult years. Mm-hmm. I knew one day that I had the potential to be, quote, famous. Now, I had that feeling in my 20s to the degree that when the internet came out, one of the first things I did was I bought ChadPrather.com.
Really?
Yeah. Because I knew that one day, whether it was going to be writing a book
How
or
long
speaking,
ago did you do that?
Oh, literally, when the first,
like 90s?
Yeah, like when you could ever buy a domain name,
That's
I
awesome.
bought ChadPrather.com.
Yeah.
I'm the only person that's ever owned ChadPrather.com.
That's great.
So I bought it because I knew that one day this was going to come into play, because my goal, remember I told you, your deepest heart's desire and the will for your life is typically synonymous. I knew one day I would have a platform with a voice. So to your question, it was an overnight thing when that first video hit 1 million, because now, people are coming at you nonstop. I felt like, I describe it this way. It's like, I opened up the front door to the neighborhood and everybody came in and went to my underwear drawer and started going through it. So I had to hide the pictures of my kid. I had to, anything that you didn't want people to see, immediately it was like, oh crap, I got to hide this. People don't need to see all of my life.
Yeah, for sure.
I got 3 teenage daughters. They don't all need to be exposed.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I was on the way over here today and I was like, I've known Chad for over 2 years now, because it was March of 2015. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't even know if I think he has kids.
Yeah,
I think I've heard him mention kids. Yeah,
I have 4. Jade has 1. So we got 5 together. We don't have any to get together, but it's a blended family.
Out there. It's
right.
Yeah.
No, we keep that. We keep that close to the vest. Most people who hear us, they say, "Oh, you guys, Jade she's mothered 5 children for you," and I'm like, "No, she hasn't."
No.
But I mean, not taking anything away from her, but no, that's not the way that went down. But it's
So you had like your opinions on stuff, whether it's political or social, whatever. That was already there.
My convictions have always been there.
Yeah.
My convictions, and I do have convictions. I have a perception of things that I believe to be true, and I have convictions, and I think that I have the logic. I have a basically a lifetime of logic built up behind it, because I came out of nowhere and people were like, oh my God, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a dude who in the shadows prepared to communicate for
I think it's
20
awesome how you
years.
said for like 5 or 6 years, you posted things and just watched how
people reacted.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, man. It was one of those things that the smart thing that I did, and I don't know that I knew that I was doing it, but it just almost came out of me second nature, was I branded what I was doing.
Yeah.
So it's not that I went viral, because here's the trick. To say I want to do a viral video and live off of that, that's like saying or build a career off of that. That's like saying I want to win the lottery. That's my career plan. Right. My retirement plan is I'm going to win the lottery. And so it's one thing to get a viral video. It's another thing to do it again. So the first one, hit 1 million or 5. I don't even know. At this day and age, I don't know where that video stands. But then I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again, and I did 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. And then you'd hit one that would do 25 million, and then 14 million, and 8 million, 10 million, 200 million. And then all of a sudden Fox News is calling. And Fox News is like, dude, can you be in the studio at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning? We want you on Fox and Friends. Now CNN's doing stories on you, and The Blaze is having you in as a guest. In Tommy Lahren, she wants you on your show, and all these different deals. I mean, it's one of the, and now I've got a political blog, and I've got the comedy tour, and I've got T-shirts, and I've got merchandise, and I'm partnering with these companies around the country that I can help advertise them and promote them.
I mean, do you have like a goal, something you're working to, or like once that took off, is it kind of just like flying by the seat of your pants and just kind of making turns where you can? But
here is as detailed as I know how to make it. In 2015, I looked at my life, I looked at my career, and I said, okay, this is like being in the birth canal. Something alive is about to come out.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's going to look like.
It's an odd description, but I can see that.
But that's where it was.
Yeah.
2016 was going to be, we have this baby. It's not walking, not crawling, just a baby. It's alive.
It's there.
It's tangible.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is when you're pregnant, you feel the baby, but you don't feel the baby.
Right.
It's inside. It's hidden. That's the way 15 was for me. 2016 became, we're now holding the baby. And that was the Kings of Cowtown comedy tour, and Bill Martin and myself went out and did, and we did that.
I was at the golf tournament that y'all did.
Yeah, the Cowboys Who Care.
Yeah,
and so we did. Now, but it was something tangible. I can start to see the shape and the look of it, and maybe by the end of the year, it's sitting up by itself and it's crawling. And then I said by 17, which is of course this year, I said I want that baby toddling. I want that baby walking, and even by the end of the year running. And so it's funny that symbolism has followed the script. And I said this in 15.
Yeah.
It's followed the script perfectly. And I said by the time we're 18, man, we got a child that's taking the training wheels off the bike and riding. I mean, this thing's really moving. Yeah. And so by 18 and 19, I truly hope that, and I think that we're going to be off to the races. I have an agent now, second largest comedy agency in the world, Gersh, the Gersh agency. William Rodriguez is my agent. Arthur Spivak, who has been a godsend, is my manager. I found him first because...
I was about to say, did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you?
Well, it was one of those things where at the end of last year, 16, I said, I got to have help because I've gone as far as I can go the way that I am. I've done it all by myself.
Pretty awesome to have done it by yourself.
I did everything by myself. And so I said, I got to have help. People said, you need an agent. And I said, I don't want an agent because agents can be a little slimy.
Yeah.
Agents can be, because, agents themselves will tell you, we're in it for the money.
For sure.
And I don't blame them because I'm in it for the money too in that regard. When it comes to business, I want to make as much money as I can. And anybody out there listening to this that says that they're in it for the pious aspect of just the art and no, shut up. No, you're not. You want to make money off of this stuff.
If you were just in it for that, you would just sit in your room by yourself and talking to a mirror.
You know what, man? Just stare at the wall and write your music.
There can be both. We can do both.
You can do it. But anyway, so I said, I got to have a manager first. because I don't know how to navigate this world.
Okay.
I really don't. I need somebody that can protect me. So I traveled around the country.
So what's the difference between an agent and a manager?
Well, a manager is your business.
In your world.
Your manager is your business guy. He's the guy who speaks for you. He is your voice. He's the one that makes sure that the best deals are negotiated for you. He can be your asshole. He can be the guy who says,
So I guess that'd be like the difference between like an artist manager and a booking agent.
Right.
Is that like what that?
And so, well, and now your agent, he's the guy who says, look, he's getting you work.
Okay.
Your agent is out there getting you work. So like you said, booking agent.
Yeah, okay.
And so I said, I need somebody that I can trust. Well, I was in L.A. I was in L.A. doing a TV show, and end of last year, and this guy calls me up, and he says, hey, my name's Arthur Spivak. I'm a manager here in L.A. I hear you're out in L.A. taking meetings. I wasn't. I was doing a show. And he says, I'd love to sit down and talk with you. Metallica's attorney had told him about me.
Nice.
I know. But one of the top...
Did you know him or something?
No. One of the top attorneys in L.A.
Probably just saw his niece shared a video of
the
yours or
guy's
something.
got like Cameron Crowe and good God. I mean, I could list these A-list celebrities. I mean, so he knew about me just from watching videos. Because, let me tell you why. Because I say things that are conservative politically.
Yeah.
And there is this huge closet community of conservatives in Hollywood that can't come out. They can't come out.
Yeah.
They can't come out. And so anyway, one of the attorneys there, he called Arthur and he said, you got to check this guy out. Because here's Arthur, who's a Jewish guy in Hollywood for 40 years, is hugely successful. The guy managed Prince at one time, and he found Tori Amos, he found Collective Soul, he broke them. I mean, he brought them out. He calls me up and he's like, hey, look, this is Arthur Spivak. I was Paul Reiser's manager for 23 years. He was the executive in charge for Mad About You, 9 seasons, whatever they did with Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. And he goes, I'd love to have a meeting with you. So he and I got on the phone with each other for 30 days, every day. And then he came out to one of my shows that I did in Denver, Colorado, and I just said, "This is the guy I want to work with. I want to work with this guy." He doesn't. So you
just got to know each other first, and then you were like,
he doesn't blow smoke up my butt.
Yeah,
he's very honest. He's very straightforward. He doesn't give me a break. Like I just did 3 sold-out shows. I come home yesterday. He's like, "I need the character development for the sitcom now." You know. Like, dude, can I breathe? Can I maybe see my wife naked? Can I have a drink? Can I smoke a filterless cigarette? Can anybody do anything around here? I don't smoke filterless cigarettes unless I'm in Colorado.
I tried that one time.
No, I love gummy bears. No, so we're pitching a sitcom. I mean, he's a sitcom guy. Yeah. So not only do they now they have me on this other tour, but now we're pitching a sitcom. And I mean, come on, there's a sitcom about, next season you could be watching a sitcom about Chad Prather. How
it's crazy.
Boring. But no, so we've done a lot of work onto that. And so, I had no idea where this was going.
Yeah.
We were on a new tour. We're pitching TV. I'm finishing one book. I'm on the phone with a New York publisher and New York agent to start a second book. There's all these things that are going on, all because one day I sat in the cab of my truck, turned the cell phone on, and started talking to it and posted it on social media and said, I believe there's a way to make a living
being myself.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing. Like, and I've seen people that I know back in Alabama sharing your videos and just all this stuff. And for somebody who doesn't know, like you were talking about that guy earlier that posted and said he was born in New Jersey. It's a fake accent. Like I've stood with you in the corner of a bar and talked for 2 hours, and it's you. Yeah, it's just you. It's just like you said. I'm going to be myself, and I think there's a way to be successful doing that. And it's what it is. I've been looking forward to this conversation because I wanted to do that. I wanted to.
Well, I have people all the time who say, "Well, what if I just quit and start making videos in the cab of my truck?" I said, "Is your deep heart passion to make videos in the cab of your truck? I doubt that it is."
Right. Yeah.
I really seriously doubt that it is. Go find what your heart's passion is and do that. And you might just discover that you got a career hidden in there.
Yeah. Find something you love and do it.
Here's the beauty of it. We live in America. You got the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that in communist China. You can't do that in North Korea. You can't do that in most parts of Russia. You can't do that in the UK. I mean, you just can't do it in other parts of the world. We have That's why people say, well, you can't say that America's the greatest in the world. We rank whatever in education. I'm like, kiss my ass, dude. We can do anything we want to do. I can make a living sitting in my truck.
Yeah.
And going out.
There are
it's
other
ridiculous.
countries with some freedoms, and I don't know. I've never even been outside of the country. I'm not saying because I'm ignorant of that, but I do know that where I live, there are some crazy things happening. There's this and there's that. There are some bad stuff going on, whatever. But it's not as bad as a lot of people say. I mean, it's a great thing. I get to wake up every day and be happy to play music and write songs and talk with people like you. And there are opportunities that maybe people shouldn't just sit around and bitch all the time. Maybe if you think something, you think something's wrong, maybe you should get out and try to do something to fix it.
Go do something.
Yeah.
Go do something. The biggest thing, I was on a TV interview a couple weeks ago, and the guy said, what sets you apart from everybody else? He's looking for some profound answer. And I was like, dude, all you got to do is be yourself, and you're automatically set apart from everybody else.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's all you got to do. Don't try to be a Kardashian.
Yeah.
God forbid.
One of my favorite quotes ever of all time, if I had a tattoo, I might get it tattooed on me, is Waylon Jennings said in an interview, he said, it's hard enough to be yourself. Why try to be anybody else?
Exactly.
I mean,
100%.
Yeah.
My biggest message to men especially is be yourself. Be that voice. Don't be an echo. And that's, that's, you asked earlier, what's my purpose? I think that's my purpose. Be myself and let myself just hang out. I mean, just be who I am.
We were talking earlier and you said something about like, it sounded like from here, one of your goals is to be able to help other people that you see are working hard and doing things, and you want to be able to help provide success for other people in some of the ways that you've had.
Well, that's a big part of everything I do. So I've used my platform for charities, whether it's veterans or active duty military, or kids with terminal illness. With the Cowboys Who Care. Bill Martin's organization.
Yeah.
We give cowboy hats to kids and with cancer. But then I look around at all these people who have all this talent, who have, like yourself, I mean, these songwriters, these musicians, these guys that I'm like, and you don't just have it, you're busting your ass to get it out there. Yeah. And I'm like, I pray that one day I can figure out the vehicle. It's almost like when I said social media, I know there's this idea, it's inherent in there. Yeah. It's a kinetic deal, it's a potential deal of being able to say, okay, that energy is there. How can you do it? There's something that's just in me that says there's a way to make sure that everybody, these guys that I'm connected with, people like yourself, say, man, there's a way to make sure that the world knows you exist because you have that voice. You're putting out your voice. Let's find a way to amplify that voice and get it out there. And that's, I'm always looking for ways to how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? That's why you and I, when we're done here, we're going to go out there. We're going to sit in the cab of my truck. You're going to pull out your guitar, and we're going to do what I call Music Monday. Yeah. We're going to post it on social media.
Which, for people listening to this, it will have already happened.
It will have already happened.
There's
so
a
come
delay
back
on what I'm doing, but Chad is a right now kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. So go to Chad's Facebook page, follow it first of all, hit like, follow, and see first, and then you will be able to back down a little bit. You'll go to videos, and you'll see Jacob Stiefel is sitting in the cab of my truck, very awkward, two men on leather seats with a guitar between us, and doing an original song, a cover. Who knows what we're going to do? We're just going to banter and talk about it, but go watch it because you're going to love it. You take something like that. My buddy Shane Watson, we did that. We took off last week for the 4th of July, but my buddy Shane Watson did the week before. I mean, my gosh, he's had like 125,000 people watch this thing. Yeah. I'm telling you, it changes your social media landscape real quick because now there's people following you and there's Facebook and there's people exposed to what you do.
I was telling myself on the way over here, like, don't be nervous.
Yeah, don't be nervous.
It's just you and Chad sitting in the truck talking.
I like to believe that I'm a good Oprah. I make you comfortable in the passenger seat. But I mean, Steve Helms has done it. Rob Redwine's done it, and we've done these things. And I started thinking, I don't really want to post a lot of original stuff on Mondays. I very rarely do a truck rant on Monday. Okay. Just Monday. It's just Monday. Yeah, I'm hungover. And
you are wearing a shirt
I'm
that
sure.
says hungover.
Wade Bowen's hungover shirt is dude, there are so many shameless plugs I have put in this podcast. But no, we've done all these things and I keep getting these messages of people going, dude, that's a genius idea. Yeah. Because it exposes, people love music. It exposes us to music that we didn't know existed.
It's a great thing to help people that you genuinely want to help, and you're not just doing it because of some political connection, not political, but like because of some business connection or whatever. Like,
well, let's face it.
I have no business connection because I have no, whatever.
Well,
I just
nobody,
mentioned the bar.
Nobody. Steve Helms, Steve's an incredible songwriter. He's quite accomplished. Steve did the very first Music Monday, and Steve's one of my best friends. But Steve doesn't have anything. I mean, I benefit nothing by exposing Steve to the world.
Yeah.
I don't do anything like that. It's just sheerly because I think people need to hear what you guys have to offer. A part of it is I wish I could offer it, but I can't. I don't. That's just not my gifting. But I do love music.
Yeah.
But the being that delivery conduit that gets people, gets it to people is not me.
What is, if you could pick one thing, what is your favorite thing that you've been able to do because of this crazy storm of popularity?
Well,
like since that first video went crazy and hit 1 million views, like is it the being on news, Fox or CNN or whatever?
No,
or
it's
charity stuff.
It's for me. It's twofold. It's what I've been able to give back, and that's not a BS answer. It really is. I'm going to show you something here. So I'm going to reach over here. One is I was connected to Cowboy Bill Martin, William Lee Martin, and he and I did the Kings of Cowtown tour. We did 35, 40 cities. We were sold out or oversold. We had a great tour on that thing. But he introduced me to his organization, cowboyswhocare.org. And Cowboys Who Care, just quite simply, goes to children's clinics and children's hospitals, kids with cancer, life-threatening illnesses.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything but they're not raising money for cures. They're not looking for research. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything but putting smiles on kids' faces. And the way they do that is by putting cowboy hats on their heads.
Yeah.
So they go in there and we say, hey, these kids don't want to wear a wig. Every kid wants to be a cowboy, so we're going to put a cowboy hat on their head. And Resistol's been real good about making a hat that has a special band, a comfort band in there that's on their sensitive heads, Yeah. So we've given away like 7,000 hats, in all these different cities. Bill's done a heck of a job. So there's that, and then there is I'm going to pull it out of the envelope here. This is from my buddy Dave Warner. Dave you can't say is a Marine. They're always Marines. This is a 9mm bullet, and right here, you can hear it tapping on the desk. I shouldn't probably pop it like that, but because there's a dimple in the back of it right here where the firing pin hit it when he put it to his head and pulled the trigger. Oh, wow. And it didn't fire. And so he sent me the message about his story, and he was in Fallujah. He was in the, as they say, in the shit.
Yeah.
And he's seen a lot of things, and he came home with extreme PTSD. And finally he couldn't take it anymore, so he put that gun to his head, pulled the trigger, it misfired. Like I said, there's a dimple back here where the firing pin hit it. You can see the scratch right on there. And
wow.
And so he
that's crazy. Yeah.
I met him at an event that I was doing for Boots for Troops. My boy Jimmy Rogers has a great organization called Boots for Troops where they send care packages to military overseas. And met him, and he said, dude, he's telling me this story, his wife's crying, and I'm crying. And so we're sitting here, we're looking at this thing, and he says, I don't know what to do with this bullet. And I said, send it to me. So he sends me a letter with the deal. He sends me the bullet. He says, I want it out of my life because to me it represents death. Yeah. So he sends me this bullet, and I said, I want you to send it to me. So I keep it right there. I keep it in the envelope. I don't want to take it out because I don't want to lose the letter.
Yeah,
I don't want.
I
just want to keep it. I want to keep it.
Yeah.
It stays right there on the corner. And so for me, that is well, here's the story there. Yeah. He pulled the trigger. He opened up his phone because adrenaline was pumping. Oh, yeah. And because he was supposed to be dead right then. He opens up his phone, he looks at it, and it's automatically on Facebook, and the first thing he sees is this guy sitting in the truck with a cowboy hat on talking about your self-worth by using a $20 bill. And he sees me for the first time telling this story. Yeah. And he said, dude, I went back and I started watching everything you've ever done. He said, you gave me a purpose to live. You gave me a purpose to love my wife and to make sure that, and so I didn't ask for all that. Yeah. I didn't ask for all that. And I have people all the time who go, man, that's a dumbass little Sunday school illustration you did about a $20 bill. You know what? Kiss my ass. Yeah. And pull the stick out of yours. Because for every guy that, Give me 100,000 of your complaints that you're insecure, jealous
every
little
one
butt
person that I've touched.
Yeah, give me a guy like that who somehow God saved his life, and he turns on this thing and he says, all of a sudden I realized there was a purpose for living. Yeah. I don't know what's in store for Dave Warner. I don't know. But you know what? God's got something for him, because that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's a weird story. So anyway, it's a fun thing. So yeah, that's what's been the reward for me.
Yeah.
I'm not rich, I'm not famous. I mean, I have people who all the time say, "Oh my God, you're a celebrity." No, I'm not. I mean, come on.
Internet famous.
Luke Bryan's a celebrity. Yeah. I'm recognized. I'm not I'm not famous. I'm recognized.
So do you get, like, if you go to the grocery store, do you have people be like, "Oh, here, Chad"?
Yeah, but here they just ignore it. It's like seeing Randy Owen at the food lane at Fort Payne.
Yeah.
It's like you just let him go on with his life. If I go to the airport with a cowboy hat on, which is often, that's a different deal. Hey man, can we get a quick picture? I was in Denver a couple weeks ago, and I'm going through the airport. I had to stop 8 times between the gate and the baggage claim.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't mind that. I really don't mind that because it's
probably
humbling.
Depends on when they come up to you.
Well, it's humbling. There's some places you don't want to be recognized. I mean, when you're coming out of the Asian massage parlor.
Hey, aren't you? Nope.
I am not. No. I am not. Nuh-uh. My name is Luke Bryan.
Do you have so where would be the best place for somebody to go? Maybe one of the 19 people that are going to download my podcast.
Oh, they're going to listen, watch and see. I'm sharing this. This is my favorite podcast I've done. I'm sorry, Chris Watson. I know I did the slightly chew with Chris, but I'm going to do. This has been a fun conversation.
Where's the best place for them to go? To your YouTube page, your website?
Just go to the website. Go to chadprather.com or watchchad.com. Yeah. You can go to politicalcowboy.com. If you're into politics any at all, and you like a good honest debate and like to look at things, just go to politicalcowboy.com.
I love a good debate.
Dude,
it's so important that more people should do that. I heard somebody saying the other day, they said they delete or unfollow or whatever anybody that doesn't agree with them. I was like, that's the worst thing to do. That is terrible.
That's why we have a 2-party system.
Yeah.
That's why we have Republicans. Well, actually, it's more than that. That's why we have libertarians and independents and Tea Party.
That's why we have the Senate and the Congress and the president.
That's what we do. That's America. We debate.
Supreme Court.
We debate. Social media has skewed all of that. So somebody asked me the other day, why in the world would you want to do a politicalcowboy.com, put up articles up there that people are going to disagree with? And I said, come on. The extreme 1% that disagrees with me, 2% on one side of a political party. Yeah. I said, you know what? Look, dude, I posed in a picture recently with an American flag draped on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I wasn't dishonoring it.
Yeah.
I had conservatives, which I am. They were ready to crucify me.
That's crazy.
Because they said, you're violating the flag code. I was not.
Yeah.
And they said, I was not.
I'm sure that I don't agree with you on everything.
Of course not. Of course not. And you might find that you and I agree on things that you assume that we wouldn't agree on.
It's true. Yeah.
And so you have that because people say, oh, well, because here's the thing. If I know you, I can take you and put you in a box, label that box, put you on a shelf, and I don't have to deal with you anymore.
Yeah.
That's not the way you go through life.
No way.
That's not. So discussion and debate is fun. But the goal of politicalcowboy.com is to bring people together, actually. Yeah. I'm going to put out conservative values, but it's I'm not going to apologize for that, but it's to the point of saying, okay, look, logically, this is what I believe. This is why I believe it. I'm not trying to get you converted to it.
Right.
This is just what we see. This is how we see it.
Yeah, this is how I see it.
And so let's come together, and it's actually okay for us to disagree on it.
Yeah. I feel like that to me. I was talking to my dad on the phone earlier today about it, or yesterday, but and I remember being in junior high in like 6th or 7th grade, and we had each teacher nominated one person out of the class, and I was one of the people nominated as a peer mediator.
Yeah.
And what they did was if somebody had a fight or an argument about something or whatever, they would take those two students and put them together with a peer mediator and sit them in a room. Instead of like sending them to the principal's office or whatever, they put them in a room with a peer mediator and let them figure it out, let them talk about it, discuss it. And I feel like we need more of those. We need more people that are going to sit down and say, hey, you think this and you think this, but we all live here.
Yeah.
We all have to make decisions. So maybe you're not going to get everything you want. You're not going to get everything you want, but we all get to keep living and operating and compromise and figure it out. And that doesn't happen except through debate.
I think that's a good summary of the whole deal right there. I love it. That's my life goal now, is to be a peer mediator.
There you go.
That's what I want to do.
I'm going to get you a shirt that says peer mediator. All right. So we'll wind this thing down here. If you had a piece of advice or something to tell yourself at 18 years old, 18, 19, 20 years old, what would you tell yourself if you could go back in time?
Well, I've already touched on it. Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Make sure that you discover. It's okay to have mentors. It's okay to have people that speak into your life. I think you have to have that at all stages in life. But get to a point where, you know what? Don't be afraid of rejection. Don't be afraid. Don't let your insecurity guide you. People say, well, I have low self-esteem. No, the problem is we all have very high self-esteem. That's one of the things that makes us insecure. The issue is we have low self-worth. We don't value what we are. And so we find ourselves trying to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
Because we esteem ourselves so highly, we think we deserve to be like that person we admire. So I tell, I'm always telling young people, look, hey, get your self-worth up. You're worth something. That's why that $20 bill was such a powerful thing. You're worth something. You already esteem yourself very highly. But
I never heard.
That's why we own mirrors. I mean, anybody listening to me that disagrees with me, let me ask you: do you own a mirror?
Yeah,
of course you do.
How many times do you look?
You esteem yourself very highly.
Okay.
Do you buy clothes? Do you give a crap what they look like? Of course you do, because you esteem yourself highly. Your issue, your insecurity, your lack of confidence, your lack of success, all these things don't come from esteem. They come from worth. You lack self-worth. So that's what I would say to myself if I was a kid. I'd say, look, man, get over this lack of confidence, because everybody else out there, they don't have any confidence either.
Yeah.
We're all a bunch of insecure people.
It's so true. I've thought about that a lot. Like while you're looking at somebody thinking about, oh man, my ears are a little bit bigger than they should be. They're looking at you thinking, man, my love handles are hanging over my belt. You know, like everybody, we've all got things.
I watch videos from the shows. I did a video from this Oklahoma show, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm like, and I've lost 20 pounds, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm going, God, I'm fat.
Oh yeah,
I'm so fat.
I mean, not that you are, but I feel the same way. I've lost since high school. I mean, I've lost almost 100 pounds.
Yeah,
but I still, when I look at myself in the mirror, I still see fat Jacob.
Exactly. Well,
I took a picture of me with another guy, with one of my, which will be a couple weeks ago guest when this comes out, Eric Bryce, is an awesome visual artist. And we were like approximately the same size. And it's so weird how you perceive yourself and how you like, cause he's to me a normal sized person.
Yeah.
And then I'm standing next to him. I'm like, I look normal in this picture.
Yeah.
But when I look at myself,
you don't see yourself that way.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's just
I
weird,
see it.
yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Well, all right. Be yourself. Like, follow, and befriend Chad Prather, because he's one of the best guys I know.
It's true.
Thanks for talking, man. I appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Thanks for having me.
Man, I love that guy. Chad Prather, ladies and gentlemen. We did get a guitar and a harmonica out and jam a little bit for you, which you hear in the background there. Now, if you haven't seen Chad's videos, or you don't follow him on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whichever your choice of social media, you absolutely should. For more info on Chad, all of the social media links and websites and everything, you can get that at the show notes page over at don'tstifleme.com/021. Now, if you're a new listener, thanks so much for sticking around and listening. It's awesome. Welcome. If you have any questions or any feedback, that's great. I would love to know about that. Please send it to jacob@don'tstifleme.com. I'm doing this for you guys, so if there's anything you want or don't want here, I'd love to know. Any of the social medias, the podcast social medias are all at DSM Podcast, and mine are at Jacob Stiefel. That's JACOBSTIEFEL. And that was episode 21, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back next week for episode 22. I hope you will too, as well. Also, Tambien, we might or might not have Jason Isbell and the 400-unit bass player Jimbo Hart next week. Okay, the cat's out of the bag. Jimbo Hart will be next week's guest on episode 22. So come on back or hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and it'll be automatically downloaded to your device. Anyway, if you don't get anything else from this podcast, I really hope that it helps you chase your passion, helps you decide to chase your passion. And if you don't know what your passion is in life, I sincerely hope that this helps you decide to search that down. And anything I can do to help, I will always be here for you. In the meantime, have a beautiful day. I love you all, and I'll talk to you again real soon.